Welcome back to Offseason Outlook. Today we're going to be discussing why I believe the Cincinnati Bengals are poised to take a huge leap forward going into the 2026 season. First of all, in 2025, they had the 11th hardest strength of schedule with a .521 win percentage total faced. Based on Vegas forecasted win totals for next season, they have the third easiest strength of schedule. That is huge. Not to mention their free agency haul. They bring in Boye Mafe from the Super Bowl winning Seattle Seahawks, who had 36 hurries in 2025. That will help them get increased pressure on opposing quarterbacks and help ease the loss of Trey Hendrickson, who obviously left, signed with the Ravens after the Max Crosby debacle. They bring over Brian Cook, safety from Steve Spagnuolo's Kansas City Chiefs defense. He was fourth in the NFL last year in pass breakups with 6. He should help a Cincinnati defense which finished 29th total in PFF ranking with an abysmal 26th in the NFL in passing yards allowed per game. Their secondary needs the help. He's going to bring it. They gave up 235 passing yards a game. You can't win with that. You can't win with a secondary that is that sorry. Brian Cook coming in with Steve Spagnuolo's system should be able to change that. I also have big hopes for DJ Turner to take a big leap in the secondary. In 2025, he had his best season in his third year. He posted personal bests in completion percentage allowed at just under 48%, yards per target at 6.4, quarterback rating at 75.6, yards after catch at 127, and yards per completion. He's only 25 years old. He'll be entering his prime in a contract year and should be better in the second year of Al Golden's system. They also bring in Jonathan Allen, defensive line from the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, he's much older. He's not the same player that he was in the Commanders or even the Vikings. But listen, he should help Cincinnati's defense, which finished dead last in the NFL in rushing yards allowed per game with 147.1. Not to mention Jonathan Allen, they brought over another pretty good defensive lineman in a huge trade that Duke Tobin and ownership group finally pulled the trigger, finally decided to get aggressive with Joe Burrow at the helm. He's 29 years old. He's not getting any younger. They have to try to win now. They sent the 10th overall pick over to the New York Football Giants for Dexter Lawrence. It will help the league's worst rushing defense, and the hope is that he frees up the string of high draft pick edge rushers that haven't really worked out so far in Cincy. I mean, I'm talking about Myles Murphy, who was brought over from Clemson, Shamar Stewart, the athletic freak taken from Texas A&M, Cassius Howell, they're the 41st pick in this year's NFL draft, the Bengals' first selection after sending over their first-round pick. He's going to free those guys up just like he did with Abdul Carter, just like he did with Brian Burns for the New York Giants. Listen, he is coming off his worst season by far. He had significant drops in production, but if he can be the sexy Dexy that he has been, the all-pro D lineman that he's been the years prior to that, he will completely transform this defensive line. Possibly the most important thing for the Bengals heading into next season is a healthy Joe Burrow. He's finally trending towards full health going into week 1 after missing 23.7% of his career games, including 16 over the past 3 seasons. He missed on an entire season in the past 3 seasons. There have not been any major improvements to their O-line, but it's not the end of the world. In 2025, they ranked 15th in pressure rate allowed, 33.2%, but they still are mostly to blame for Burrow constantly being battered, constantly fighting through injury. But a new wrinkle in their offensive system, I believe, can alleviate some of the stress put on the O-line and alleviate some of the stress on Joe Burrow. And that is plays taken under center. Listen, the Cincinnati Bengals ranked 22nd in the NFL in explosive play percentage in 2025, even with Joe Burrow, even with Jamar Chase, even with T. Higgins. And this is partially because of their abandonment of snaps under center. They were 31st in the NFL in under center snap percentage. That's a mouthful. NFL teams over the last 3 seasons have produced 1,499 explosive completions while using under center play action. Joe Burrow has produced 1. That's right, 1 out of 1,500 of those belongs to the Heisman Trophy winner, Joe Burrow. And that explosive Cincinnati Bengals offense that we all kind of have in our heads with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, but it hasn't really been that way. The Bengals have never touched the top 10 in explosives explosiveness with Burrow. League-wide since 2020, under center play action plays have an explosive play rate of 19.4%. The explosive rate on all shotgun plays is 11.1%, and the Bengals have been more loyal to shotgun plays than any other team, and they have stayed far away from under center snaps. The Bengals offense has a foundation. They're returning nearly every coach and all 11 starters. Dan Pitcher, the offensive coordinator, said, and I quote, "Truthfully, yeah, I believe in what those numbers say, and we are going to have to explore that part of our offense. I do believe they're going to make a greater commitment into under center snaps, and I do believe that is going to unleash this offense." With the addition of more under center snaps, I see the Bengals not only getting more explosive plays, but having an easier job getting those explosive plays, which are so critical for their offensive success. Going under center more instead of the constant play action that has been the identity of the offense will help their O-line tremendously. In play action, their linemen are asked to drop back in true pass sets at a higher rate than anyone. It sets up these defensive coordinators to unleash more disguises, simulated pressures, and all the pass rush tricks that wear out O-lines and lead to the Bengals collapsing late in games and leads to Joe Burrow taking unnecessary hits, getting injured, and the cycle of disappointment for Cincinnati Bengals fans continues. The O-line was simply just being asked to do too much. More under center run plays would mean a smaller percentage of hits on Burrow because of this alleviation for the O-line. Under center plays are also huge for unleashing running back Chase Brown, who has become an integral part of the offense over the last 2 seasons. Chase Brown in the last 2 years in first half early downs is in under center snaps is 4th in the NFL in yards per rush at 5.1. When they go to shotgun, that drops to 24th in the NFL at 4.1. His explosive play percentage under center is 12.3%. That's 3rd in the NFL. They go to shotgun, it drops to 7.3%. That's 22nd in the NFL. His success rate is almost 40% under center. That's 18th in the NFL. It drops all the way to 29% in shotgun. That is 34th in the NFL. But you look at the attempts, he's 29th in attempts under center. He's 6th in attempts in shotgun. They just have not given him the ability to do what he does best. But as Dan Pitcher said, we have to be open and willing, and we are too. How do we evolve and get more explosive? It's crystal clear. You go under center. That is how you help this offense. You go under center. I believe the Cincinnati Bengals are going to attack that this offseason, and they're going to unleash it at the start of the year. I am super excited to see what they're going to be able to do. Bengals fans are in for a fun season, to say the least. That is why I expect them to take a huge jump. Maybe a Super Bowl rematch against the Rams. We will see, but it will be an exciting season. This has been Offseason Outlook. Thank you very much.